ministers of the council, members of the media, radio listeners via St. Martin Gov Radio 107.9 FM, and respective radio stations island-wide and online viewers. I'm Relika Roach, and welcome to the Live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, October 9th, 2019. At this time, I invite the Minister of Education, Culture, Youth and Sport, the Honorable Wycliffe Smith, to address you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Roach. Good morning to all, Department of Communications, members of the press, as well as those listening and viewing via radio, television, or social media. Good morning, Sualiga. Last week, I had the pleasure of watching an amazing performance of Aladdin the Musical on our local stage. The play was produced by the St. Martin Academy, and it also featured students from the Charlotte Brookson Academy of the Performance Arts. The students did very well and showed dedication to the acting, singing, and dancing. Hats off to the teachers who led the team and to all the cast and the crew. The iStep Conference. Last week, the Division of Educational Innovation successfully hosted the iStep Conference 2019 Tech Experience. The iStep app was launched with a demo at the Emilio Wilson Museum. This app gives the visitor an interactive experience when they visit the museum. The app works as follows. If you have the app and you point your phone or your iPad to a particular sign or illustration in the museum, you will be able to watch a video or an interview about a particular object or sign. For example, at the entrance of the museum, there was a welcome sign on the floor. Pointing my phone at the sign, I got to see a video of Emilio Wilson waving and welcoming me to come in. This app was developed in collaboration with the Rainforest and the Division of Educational Innovation with the purpose to encourage students and our youth in general to visit the museum. The Tech Experience Conference was well attended by our public education teachers and also by teachers of the subsidized schools. And I know that our students will benefit from their teachers' development. Thank you to the organizing committee for your hard work. The Constitution Day observance, which will take place on Monday, October 14th. Each year, on the second Monday of October, we observe and celebrate the establishment of our Constitution and the recognition of country status. On October 10, 2010, St. Martin moved from an island territory to an autonomous country within the Kingdom of the Netherlands. This step of self-governance has taken us through the last 9 years. This year, on Monday, October 14th, the Government of St. Martin, in collaboration with the St. Martin National Commission for UNESCO, will present a Constitution Day service and Intangible Cultural Heritage Inventory launch. The service will be held at the Saints Simon and Jude Anglican Church on Back Street, starting at 9 a.m. A feature for the service will be some cultural presentations. Immediately following that service, there will be the Intangible Cultural Heritage Inventory launch, which will take place right next to the Saints Simon and Jude Anglican Church on the back street. And there will also be an Intangible Cultural Heritage vendors market and public display. Food and other items will be available for purchase. The Department of Culture has worked along with the UNESCO office to present the inventory of intangible cultural heritage for St. Martin. This list represents 4 years of work with other stakeholders, practitioners, and knowledge bearers of St. Martin's cultural heritage. The Department of Culture will launch the promotion of this list under the theme iRich, I-R-I-C-H. And iRich stands for I Remember Intangible Cultural Heritage, signifying the value we place on St. Martin's rich culture and the importance on passing the various elements and activities on to the next generation. We have several young people who exemplify our cultural heritage, which bears significant value to our economy. Charity and Ralph Contav have made their family Johnny cake recipes into the Johnny Caker, while Dr. Tashina McCoo Thomas has taken her grandmother's lessons in bush remedies and made treatments for the ailments of her clients. Of course, there are many more. So come out and share in Country St. Martin's intangible cultural heritage on Monday, October 14th. It is a national public holiday, so you have no excuse to come out to the Constitution Day service and ask God to bless our country and to give us, her leaders, wisdom and direction, especially at this time when we're facing another election. And after the service, remain and participate in the Intangible Cultural Heritage Inventory launch and the Intangible Cultural Heritage Vendors Market and Public Display, all happening on Monday, October 14th in the Anglican Church and adjacent the church on the back street starting at 9 a.m. Thank you for watching and for listening, and I'll be available for any questions should you have any. Have a pleasant day.
Welcome.
Bon dia.
Bienvenue.
Welcome.
Bienvenidos.
On behalf of the Ministry of Education, Culture, Youth and Sport, we bid you a warm welcome. Who are we? We are the iStep team. Please allow me to introduce you to our team of experts. My name is Janelle Presentacion, Project Manager.
I am Sharon Canjeter, Branding and Logistics Expert.
My name is Georgiane Adriana Henriquez. I am the Instructional Technology Coach responsible for researching, monitoring, and overseeing the technology trainings and educational apps implementation.
I am Dason Marks, one of the tech experts on the team, and together we are responsible for researching and overseeing the implementation of all technology and infrastructure necessary to make this project a success.
I'm Marvio Cooks, the other tech expert on the team alongside Dason Marks.
I am Kimberly Myers, Creative Coordinating Expert. iStep stands for Inspiring Students with Technology in Education Project and is fully funded by the Government of St. Martin. It focuses on the integration of ICT in education and the transformation of the traditional classroom setting into modern learning environments that stimulate 21st century learning skills.
Our vision is to inspire students to become global citizens by empowering their learning experiences, promoting critical thinking and collaboration with the use of technology.
In our mission to empower our students' learning experiences, we have embarked on a special museum project that brings together history, culture, and technology. Our goal with this special project is to educate our students on St. Martin's history and culture by stimulating inquiry and enriching the learning experience by integrating technology.
To enhance your experience and visit at the museum, we have incorporated augmented reality and anime technology. So wherever you see the iStep markers, scan it with your device to experience something exciting and educational.
We are piloting the project at the Emilio Wilson Museum with the hopes of rolling out to all other local museums and other cultural points of interest on St. Martin in the future. With this museum project, we aspire to encourage the youth and community to visit our local museums and other cultural landmarks to learn more about our unique history and culture.
Enjoy, have fun, and most of all, we hope you leave here happy and excited, having had a wonderful technology-infused, one-of-a-kind learning experience brought to you by iStep. Please go ahead and like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram at iStepSXM to keep up to date with all the great things we are doing in education.
We now move on to the question and answer session. Dimitri Wheatfield of the Daily Herald, you have the floor.
So, hi, good morning, everyone. Good morning, St. Martin, and to the two ministers present. My first question is to the Finance Minister. In a press release last week, Member of Parliament Sarah Westcott Williams said that the airport project will start soon. Well, she did say in the coming days, but that's been more than a week already. Can you confirm that the airport project is going to start soon? We understand that the final agreements with the World Bank and the European Investment Bank still have to be signed. What date is the finalized agreement expected to be signed?
Good morning to my colleagues. Good morning to the press. Thank you for that question. Yes, I took notice of the remarks of the Honourable MP Westcott. I can inform you and the public that this weekend we have finalized everything that we needed to do on our side concerning the mandates for myself and the Minister of TIAT, and to be able to sign all the agreements. And those agreements are the grant agreement for the World Bank grant, the EIB loan facility of 50 million, the two on-landing agreements to the airport, and the concession undertaking agreement, that is a security agreement towards the bondholders, but also a security agreement for the airport that secures the liquidity support for the airport during the reconstruction period that is set out to be a year and a half, so that the airport does not have any problems with meeting their financial obligations at the end of the month or during the regular operation of the airport. So yes, we reached this milestone. We are talking about an amount of close to 200 million in monies that are available to the airport in the reconstruction. Those agreements are set to be signed next week in Washington. So as of next week, those agreements are set, and then the procurement process can start for the airport reconstruction. So that means the bidding and you name it. So there's where the airport will pick up its responsibility to guide that process and reach at a point that we can start, fixing things at the airport. So I'm very, very, very proud of what we have achieved. It took us almost 10 months because it was a very complicated matter. The agreements, that's one thing. I mean, from a legal point of view, you go back and forth with lawyers, also the lawyers from the bondholders. But the negotiations with the bondholders were rather tough at times. But with the input of everybody, the NRPB office, the World Bank, the Dutch government, and our government, we managed to achieve this. So yes, I'm really happy that we made it. As I mentioned a couple of months ago, this is going to happen, and I am happy to announce that we delivered on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Heerlings. Lyndon Brown, you have the floor.
Good morning to the people of St. Martin and to the ministers that are present here today. Question to the Minister of Finance. It has been said that the IMF may soon come into play in St. Martin economy. Minister, if you know of this, the people are fearful because around us, the region and the world, any country that the IMF stepped in, there usually be consequences, whether lower enough of income, up with tax. They use their plan in restructuring that country. The emphasis is on a restructure. If you know of this, Minister, can you make it plain if the IMF will step in, it is pending?
Thank you, Mr. Brown, and I'm sorry if you see me smiling a little bit. You know, I don't know where this comes from. There is no such thing as the IMF stepping in. That's ludicrous. The role of the IMF, I can say, and yes, I know of complaints internationally about involvement of IMF in financial reconstruction of countries. But the IMF has been, since Irma, very supportive of St. Martin, very supportive of this Ministry of Finance, where it concerns the plans that I have to better the finances of this country. They render their support also not only now but in the future in rolling out the tax reforms plan, the plans at the Public Finance Management. We became member of CARTAC, that is a sister organization from the IMF that renders technical support in the field of financing. So the only thing I can say that they have been very supportive. Secondly, we do not borrow any money from the IMF, and if you research, the IMF deals with countries, independent countries, and where it concerns borrowing money from them, and then you get the conditions that they will have. So no such thing. The IMF has always been, since Irma, very supportive in advising, in helping out in the direction that I have, the vision that I've put forward for the Ministry of Finance and Country St. Martin. So no, there is no such thing. I don't know where that comes from. As a matter of fact, the IMF, in their Article 4 report of June of this year, they even made mention of some reservations they had with the role of the CFT advising towards the situation in Curacao. So they try to be helpful, and that's all it is to it. There's no such thing as stepping in. The only people in charge in this country is Parliament and the government of St. Martin. So no, I can really tell you there's no such thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Healings. We now move on to the second round of questions. Dimitri, you have the floor.
Hi, my second question is for Minister Smith. Can you give an update on the current situation with PSVE? What is the current situation in terms of staff and the subsidy? Have you recently met with the board and been updated on these issues?
Thank you very much for your question. With regards to PSVE, I need to preface my statement by saying the PSVE falls under the board of the Academy Vocational Education, and so that board deals with the organization, management, teachers, financing of its school. The government, Ministry of Education, Culture, Youth and Sport, offers and grants subsidies to these subsidized schools, including the PSVE part of the foundation. I know that our ministry has had talks with all school boards, including the FAVA, Foundation for Academic and Vocational Education, under which the PSVE falls, to discuss the subsidies for the new school year. So all school boards have had that discussion with the Department of Education, and school boards that may need to have adjustments in their subsidy will submit that request to the Department of Education. So our ministry is doing what we're supposed to do in terms of granting subsidized subsidy to these foundations. And of course, the schools have also started to submit their documentation to the inspectorate, because the inspectorate is the one that will look at the quality of education. So to answer your question, the Department of Education has had talks with all school boards, including the FAVA, and they've discussed subsidies, and school boards that feel there are discrepancies in their subsidies will submit, that in writing to the Department of Education, who will then review it together with the school board. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister Smith. Lyndon Brown, you have the floor.
Question to the Minister of Education. The Minister of Johnson is not here today, but I believe you can represent. But basically, the question is about the harbor. Do you know if the harbor have financial problem? And presently now, they are busy making negotiation to have a company to manage the harbor. The bottom line is because they have financial problem. So I make it easy so that at least you may know something about it.
Well, I need to let you know, Mr. Brown, that the harbor falls under the Ministry of TIAT, and so as Minister of Education, I wouldn't want to broach that subject because I'm not into it, and I would rather him, when he's present, answer that question. So you may want to hold that question until the Minister of TIAT is present.
Thank you, Minister Smith. We now move on to the third round of questions. Dimitri, you have the floor.
So my third question is to the Finance Minister. Quite simple question, comment, really. What's the current status of the 2019 budget?
2019 or 2020?
Sorry, 2020, yes.
Okay, thank you. 2019, just to go back, is now formally in execution. We can act on the basis of the 2019 budget. The 6 weeks period that also needs to be taken into account for review by the Ombudsman has passed earlier this week. So the plans that were enclosed in that budget can be rolled out. The 2020 budget is actually done. It is as the Council of Advice for the past weeks. In the meantime, we received the Article 11 advice from the CFT that is also necessary. So we're waiting for the Council of Advice. I hope they can finish it ASAP. So then at least we can get it back at the Council of Ministers and go over all the findings, react to it, and then submit it to the governor to send on to Parliament. So that's the status right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Heerlings. Lyndon Brown, you have the final question.
Question to the Minister of Education again. Minister Smith, Constitution Day is Monday. For educational purpose, for our children, can you explain again, refresh the minds of the people what is Constitution Day? And from 10-10-10, what have St. Martin achieved? And we are still celebrating, and it will be every year. Well, we are still celebrating. So explain to the people what is Constitution Day and the reason why we should celebrate.
Well, let me just take you back. Thank you very much for your question. When the Netherlands Antilles was established in 1954, that was based on what we call the Constitution of the Netherlands Antilles. It was called the Statute, and that was on the 15th of December, and we celebrated Statuutdag on the 15th of December, celebrating the country of the Netherlands Antilles with its partners, constituent islands, the 6 islands. Now, in 2010, we changed our status again, whereby St. Martin became an autonomous country within the Kingdom of the Netherlands, including Curaçao and Holland, so 3 countries in the kingdom. And that took place on the 10th of October 2010. And to honor that, to commemorate that particular transition from Netherlands Antilles to country St. Martin, Constitution Day is then celebrated, where we recognize that that took place and that St. Martin now is an autonomous country in the kingdom. And we have been recognizing that for the last 9 years. It has also become a public holiday. So the idea is that people celebrate during that day. And on this day, on the 14th of October, we will have a service, ecumenical service. And then this time we will be launching the Intangible Cultural Heritage Inventory, an inventory that was done over the past couple of years in making an inventory of the poems, the proverbs, the songs, the food, the cultural wear. All of these things are now documented, and it's a partial document. The whole idea is that once this is launched and this document is made available to the general public, that the general public will also be able to have an input, because the persons who went out and collected the intangible cultural heritage, they perhaps did not collect everything. There's still a lot out there. So once it's made available in a document form, people can look at it, read it, and realize that there's still a lot of information that can be added to it. And so that is the whole idea of launching this inventory, making it public and available, so that people now can participate in continuing that inventory to make it as complete as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Smith. Honorable Ministers of the Council, members of the media, online viewers, this brings us to the end of the live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, October 9th, 2019. For rebroadcast, tune in every evening at 7 p.m. on St. Martin Cable TV and via St. Martin Gov Radio 107.9 FM. For video on demand, log on to the official government's website at stmartingov.org. On behalf of the Department of Communication, I'm Rolika Roach, and wishing you a pleasant day further.